This is something else. Vice News did this documentary. It's actually pretty interesting. Basically, they asked the question, is Trump the future of the Republican Party? And they went and they asked various Trump-supporting demographics if that's the case. Is Trump the future or not? And what's interesting is that there were groups, demographic groups, that made interesting points. So one of the places they went was this border community that's overwhelmingly Hispanic, that a lot of Hispanic people there voted for Trump, and they wanted to get their reasons why. And it's interesting that those people argued like, well, there really is a crisis. There's a lot of people crossing the border. I woke up one day and there were like hundreds of people in my backyard who had just crossed the border from Mexico. And so I want border security, number one, but I also want the cartel violence to go down, and I want these people to have jobs, and Trump said he'd bring us jobs, and so that's why I supported him. So in other words, there are some people who make cogent points as to why they like that. But then there's others who are ridiculous. And so I think the dumbest people in the documentary, the silliest people, were these white voters in Texas who were big-time Trump supporters. And Vice News went and talked to them. What's their reason or reasons for supporting Trump? This is great because these people are incredibly confused. They really have no idea why they support Trump, and they also contradict themselves. Watch.
The Rooftop Republicans is a group of MAGA faithful who meet weekly at a Mexican restaurant in College Station, Texas.
The focus of this group is to concentrate on working from the school board up to the presidency and bringing true conservatism to bear.
We're hardcore conservatives.
Both coasts look at us as a bunch of backwoods cretin, and we're not. He's a retired judge. I've got a PhD. There's various other people around here who are educated, intelligent, been a lot of places, done a lot of things, and we're tired of being laughed at. You look at the stuff that comes out of Hollywood, and you don't see a central white family or even a minor mixed family. There's 3 queers, 2 lesbians, 13 Martians, and a bunch of...
I've missed this film, but I'm sure it's on Netflix.
That's the central idea of who we are.
So you feel condescended to by the media and just by the culture in general?
For years.
Let me do a little experiment here. Give me a sentence. How you feel the media views you.
They think we can't think for ourselves and we need to be told what to do. And they're laughing all the way to the bank. Yeah.
Making money off of being condescending to you.
We're the competition, and they have to shut us down through any means possible to promote their agenda.
What is their agenda, do you think?
Communism.
I want to just be specific on that. Not liberalism, not social democracy.
Liberalism with progressivism. Progressivism is just another word for communism, and that's what's taken over that part of the world.
Like liberalism in the sense of like Kennedy-style liberalism versus Swedish-style social democracy versus Soviet-style communism. I mean,
the manifesto with what they're doing, it's the same.
The Communist Manifesto.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Is that a pretty uniform view here?
Yeah.
One of their tactics is divide and conquer. And Marxists, they use language, they use race, they use economics, they use anything that they can find that puts them drive away from us.
My son is leaning towards liberal.
How old is he?
26. And when he and I talk about issues and really dive down into them, we agree on almost everything.
You do?
The concern about the elitists versus the people.
You see the enemy as the same thing. What is it that politically divides you and your son?
I think that he's listening more to mainstream media, believing the narrative that we are racist. You know, you're talking about Bernie Sanders, we're talking about unions, we're talking about Trump. You know, what is it about him? And it all boils down to we the people. They don't want to be dismissed. And they want a say-so in what's going on.
On the union issue, by the way, that's I think one issue where I've seen Republicans kind of move a little bit. I mean, the other day, Marco Rubio coming out pretty strongly against Amazon. You would never, ever, in 40 years of me watching this stuff, see a Republican come out strongly in favor of a brand new union forming against a company like Amazon.
I think it's more about justice. He wants to push that crap on the rest of us, but he doesn't want it in his company.
Jeff Bezos has politics. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post.
Correct.
And Marco Rubio is putting the idea about the media and about the elites above a probably typical disdain or distrust of unions.
At least the stories I've read from the people in those Amazon warehouses, it's like working in a Ford factory in 1910. They beat the hell out of you, tied you to the machine, and said you're going to drop dead on the spot. That's what's happening. And that's what it's reporting is the people going back against management, saying this thing's out of control, we got to get it back to where we can live here.
People used to paint Republicans as the parties of the elite, of the wealthy, of the country club class, the Bushes. And now, Republicans using the language of the working class, of unions and the purpose of them.
Republicans are not. Donald Trump is.
Donald Trump is. Donald Trump, I say Republicans say he is the head of the Republican Party right now, right? You sound pretty left-wing sometimes, right? But if you went back to sort of 2000, when there was the anti-WTO protests in 99 in Seattle, it's a kind of a populist thing that overlaps between left and right.
Well, that's why this isn't about Democrat or Republican or anything like that. It's about the people versus the elites.
Do Republicans care about spending anymore? A $1.9 trillion spending bill, the biggest in American history adjusted for inflation? Does it bother you guys? I mean, that's kind of to a degree. I finally hear a little bit of dissent here.
Yeah. Well, I would say dissent. He spends money freely, and I'm okay with that, on the things that matter. So defense spending, infrastructure, border control, border security, and getting rid of the things that are sucking sounds.
So that's what animates you now: smaller government, less spending, lower taxes.
Credit to that Vice host, because he, at the end, that last thing that he asked them about really just exposed the colossal contradiction of what these people are pushing. So let's run through all of it, okay? They start out by saying, listen, the problem is the media looks down on us, and we're tired of being looked down on. On that front, I was sympathetic up front, because I'm like, that is true. The media looks down on you. I know what it's like for the media to look down on people. As somebody who's a lefty, who was a Bernie Sanders supporter, the media looks down on us. And, you know, actual lefties, populists on the left, people who really want to economically reform the country and end all the wars, they despise us. And yes, the media does look down on a lot of Trump supporters. So I was sympathetic. But then they drove the point into a ditch, because they went on to say, well, the media and the Democrats are pushing communism. And there is no difference between liberalism, progressivism, Swedish-style social democracy, and communism. It all comes down to communism, and they're all communists. Okay, see, I felt bad for the media looking down on you, because I noticed like that happens to us too. But then when you said, and by the way, all of my political enemies are communists, now you're just factually wrong, and actually dumb in being wrong. Like, you're pathetically wrong, and now I want to make fun of you. Now you earn the mockery. I wasn't going to mock you for anything about you, but now, when you make a point that's so demonstrably incorrect, I have nothing left for you but scorn. Oh, everybody who disagrees with me is a communist. All the Democrats are communists. The media are communists. These people don't even know what communism is. They can't give you a definition of communism. They can't give you a definition of socialism. They can't give you a definition of social democracy. They're not interested enough to actually learn about it and develop real opinions. And so it's just, I don't know, everybody who disagrees with me is a communist. See, now I'm not sympathetic. Then you have one of the people there who says, well, this is about the elites versus the people. The elites versus the people, but somebody else just said, oh, everybody who's my enemy is a communist. And so it's really not about the elites versus the people, because you're saying anybody on the left is not part of the people. It's only the people insofar as you define it. And you mean a certain segment of Republicans. You don't mean anybody that politically is not in agreement with you. So there's no elites versus people. There's no class solidarity among these people. So again, there's a contradiction. Then, I love the union part. They go on to talk about unions, and everybody sounds like a little bit sympathetic. Well, hold on. You guys were just bashing communism, and now all of a sudden you're going to say some pro-union stuff? But then the mask is ripped off of the whole thing, and you see that these people are just confused. They don't even know why they support Trump. They don't even have an ideology. Because they go from saying, oh, yeah, we're populists, we believe in unions and stuff. And then the Vice News host asks, well, what about this $1.9 trillion spending bill? You know, you say you're populists. See, it's a pretty big spending bill. So I guess you're cool with the big spending now if you're populist. You know, if you're saying pro-union stuff, I guess you're for the relief bills, right? The stimulus payments and whatnot. And what do they say? They're like, no. And he asks them, okay, so what are you for nowadays? Smaller government, less spending, and lower taxes? And they say, yes. Well, that's it. That's it. These people are just confused, and they contradict themselves. You are, by definition, not a populist if you're in favor of, and I quote, smaller government, less spending, lower taxes. Smaller government, less spending, and lower taxes is the corporatist agenda. That's what it is. It's the corporatist agenda. It's deregulate, let the corporations run wild, let Wall Street run wild, let the elites run wild. Less spending means cut the social safety net, which again, if you're a populist, you by definition support the social safety net and you want to expand it. And of course, lower taxes means cutting taxes for the wealthy. Because Biden himself says, I'm not raising taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year. You would think they would support that, right? They don't support it. They like Trump's tax bill they brought up. Well, 83% of the benefits of that thing went to the top 1%. So, hello. That is helping the elites. So it's not about the people versus the elites, because you contradicted yourself 1,000 times. You say, oh yeah, I'm one of the people and I'm against the elites. Now let me materially support the policies that the elites want. Let me support the policies that help the elites and screw the people. And oh yeah, by the way, everybody who disagrees with me is a communist. So I have no sympathy for these kinds of Trump voters. I don't. Because they don't even know what they want. They don't even know what they like. They don't even know what policy preferences they have. They espouse contradictory beliefs. And so you're not a populist. You're not, against the elites and for the people. What they did is they latched onto a personality in Trump. And that's the main takeaway here, guys, is that for them, ultimately, it's more about the culture war than economic policy or any kind of policy. And they feel like Trump represented them in the culture war. And it's just a reactionary worldview. Hey, I don't like Hollywood. I don't like the elites, the cultural elites. And so I like this guy who constantly fucks with the Hollywood types and the elites and the cultural elites. That's it. That's all they really care about. Because obviously the policy, they have no clue. They contradict themselves 1,000 times. So I'm not sympathetic to that. You have to be better than that. You have to get outside of the narrow view of the culture war. Because the government, policy matters. Economics matters. Foreign policy and war matters. And they don't care about any of that stuff. They just latched onto a personality in Trump who makes them feel good. So it's a lot more about their fee-fees than any of the facts or any of the policies. And so I'm not sympathetic. So, listen, it's sad, but this is who remains on Trump's side. They don't even know what they believe. So there's a reason why it's now bottoming out at about 32%, 35%. And it'll probably stay there because you can't... They go on to say, like, oh yeah, we'd like to see Trump-style conservatives take over, in D.C. Except Trump-like conservatives are already taking over D.C. They all agree on policy. Their conservatives all agree on policy. They're on the same fucking page. Liz Cheney and Donald Trump have been going at it for the past however many months. They voted with each other like 92% of the time. So you already have Trump-like conservatives there. It's just a regular conservative Republican. But see, that's the thing again. For them, it's more about the attitude and the culture war stuff and the no filter. That's what they want, which means nothing. Why have an attitude and a no filter approach if you're going to ultimately stand for nothing and contradict yourself every other sentence? There's no reason to, but they love that because they're not serious. And so, sorry, I don't feel bad. These people are confused and they're contradictory, and it's embarrassing.